Welcome back to Fast Market here on the TD Ameritrade Network. Let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment, and that's going to be Landon Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio. Welcome back to the show, Landon.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
All right, so we're talking Teladoc. They reported earnings about a week and a half ago. This stock doesn't seem to be rebounding as much as a lot of the other names that got punished last year post-pandemic, still down nearly 60% from year-ago levels. But are you guys showing any positive data on this one? Because it just doesn't seem to be loved by investors here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, if you're an investor at Teladoc, you're not going to get a lot of positivity out of me today. I mean, one of the things we look at, obviously, we look at purchase intent, and we like to compare it to peers. So, we'll look at how well it's doing, and we're showing that purchase intent is down about 27% on a year-over-year basis. We always talk about this chart. The x-axis is the change in demand or purchase intent, so you want to be over to the right, not to the left. And then the y-axis, the vertical axis, is happiness, so you want higher happiness. You want to be higher on that chart. They're in the wrong place on this chart. Absolutely the worst. You don't want to be bottom left. Compared to Amwell and Hims, they are, obviously doing much worse on both metrics. And Amwell is just wow when it comes to customer service and customer happiness, up in the 90s. Teladoc has dropped about 13 points recently due to a lot of factors. First of all, in their primary brand, customers are reporting glitches, restrictive messaging system, canceled appointments. And then, one of their brands, Better Health, is really coming under fire from the FTC and just from investors and consumers in general. They've been banned from selling mental health data to Facebook and Snapchat. So, this is a therapy and counseling program where you can get on and talk to someone about, what's bothering you and all that. And for the last 3 years, apparently or allegedly, they've been selling data to Facebook and Snapchat to help targeted ads for those customers. So that's, again, allegedly, but that's a bit of a betrayal of trust, in my opinion, if that is what's going on. And so the happiness has just been tanking because of that. So Better Health, which was a bit of a driver of growth for this company, is actually now kind of a thorn in the side. And so when you compare to some of their competitors, it's just, they're just kind of the brand that they should maybe be a little bit ashamed of if this is what's actually been happening. So they've got there's some trends that are working against them as well. So I'm going to pile on a little bit. Telehealth demand is down about 27%, matching with Teladoc's demand down about 27%. Doctors' visits, physical visits, are up slightly, just a little bit, 2% year over year, and that's going to be a contrarian trend for them. And then people talking about how healthcare is expensive is up 14%. So most of these are going the wrong way for them. And I think that, like you said, the stock has just sort of been, it's been struggling, and it hasn't had the rebound that a lot of these other companies have, and for good reason. So I'm definitely concerned about this company a little bit longer term, and short term, the press is bad. So not too happy about Teladoc just overall in general.
Landon, here's the question that we have to ask is, the compound annual growth of Teladoc is 24%. They've got a $455 billion industry by 2030. So telehealth is growing, and it's going to be fine in the long term. The question is, you mentioned Amwell, right? Are they a true competitor, and is competition just taking over Teladoc? Are they not good at what they do? Are they getting beat? Because overall, they seem to be, they like to focus on primary care. They focus on chronic care, which gives to some loyalty. Also mental health, which gives to loyalty. They're doing the right things to grow. Obviously, this stock was $308 to $21. If we can't give it love here, Landon, when can we give it love? Or is this just a stock that's losing in this sector?
Well, I think it's a great sector to be in. I absolutely think that over time this is going to grow tremendously, the sector as a whole. But I also think there's good competition now, but I think there's going to be swarms of competition coming in, and you have to execute really well. You have to. Otherwise, people are going to find another provider. And this is, when you get into virtual services or digital things, that that is a much faster road to a product than a physical location. I mean, ask me, I know about building digital products. And it is much easier to compete with Teladoc than it is to compete with a large chain of hospitals or doctors' networks. So you can build that site and hire people much faster. And I think the competition is going to be flooding in. And one of the reasons that I'm concerned is their happiness. Happiness is absolutely critical. For us, demand is like the short-term indicator. It tells us how things are going right now, what are they likely to report, and maybe what can they give some influence on guidance, like what kind of insights on guidance they could give. But happiness is the consumer saying, I'm likely to keep using this service, I'm likely to tell my friends about this service, or I'm likely to upgrade, all of that. And it has just been, it started, you can look at this chart back in late 2020, it was up over 70%. Not great, not compared to like Amwell, but it's right there kind of with HEMS. But now over the last little bit, it has really been falling. And, this latest news, I think, is just going to continue to push it even lower. So happiness is key. Trust is key. When you're talking about doctors, when you're talking about therapy and counseling sessions, you've got to have good execution and good and high levels of trust. And then on the technical platform, all those things that I mentioned, there's glitches, there's unprofessional therapists, poor customer service, a bad messaging system, canceled appointments. I mean, you've got, if you're building a technical platform, you've got to execute it really well. This kind of reminds me of the opposite of Zoom. Like when Zoom came in, they nailed it. They nailed execution, and COVID hit, and they were the right place, the right time, and they did fairly well. And they didn't have any huge blunders. They had a couple of like password leaks, that kind of thing, where weird things happened, but it wasn't huge blunders. Their happiness was much higher. They executed much better. And a company like Zoom, the people who executed for Zoom, someone like that can execute and come in and compete against Teladoc. So I'm not going to be bullish on this company until I see happiness much higher than 50%. It's got to get at least to 70%. Otherwise, they're not gaining or keeping customers.
Yeah, I think one of the key things on that chart right there that we just had up there on consumer happiness was the negative commentary has started to explode. So maybe this isn't, a consumer issue. This is, as you mentioned, a company issue where, these doctors get on a call for a half an hour, charge you $200, and, they're not conducive to what the consumer wants at this point. But Landon, they had earnings about a week and a half ago. Are you guys still have a negative score on this company? It sounds like you do.
Yeah, it's moving negative very quickly. I think it's dropped about 30 points in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So it's definitely moving to the negative side. They don't have earnings coming up for a while, but they're going to be negative. They're continuing on this trend. I'd say fairly negative. So
negative.
Don't love it right now.
Yeah, negative Tuesday here out of LikeFolio on Teladoc. This stock's been beaten down over the last 12 months, and according to the data, not looking up. All right, thanks as always, Landon. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Landon Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio, breaking down Teladoc.